G'day viewers, this is Angela from Tarot is Art saying hello to you from beautiful Melbourne on this lovely spring morning. I thought I'd follow the hashtag today, which has been going around for quite a while. It's the only 10 decks hashtag, and these are only 10 decks you would take, Oracle or Tarot, if there was an emergency or a fire, or you didn't have any choice to take all your beautiful decks. And for me, this is so challenging because I have so many decks I love. I have a lot of out of print decks. I'm a collector, so I mean this would be total trauma if this had really happened. But I had I was thinking about it this morning, and I thought, well, what would I take? So let me flip the camera around, and we can both have a sneak peek and spend some time together this morning and see what I would take. See you on the other side. G'day viewers, Angela from Tarot as Art. Let me do the untechnical changing of the camera. So here I am, and I think today's video is our 10 favourite decks. I'm just having some herbal tea. Sorry about the slurping. I guess qualifying 10, not favourite decks, but 10 decks, only 10 decks that I would take with me if there was some kind of crisis and I couldn't take all the decks out with me. I guess for me, this would be a crisis, yes, because I have many decks and I love many decks. I guess the only way I could qualify it and cut it down to, I'd have to put it in my own criteria, would be if I did have to leave behind decks, how easily, how much do I love them, one, and how easily can I get another copy of them. In saying that, I have some beloved decks that I do have backup decks for in the event they go missing because I love them so much. So that's part of this journey. It's not just the decks. I may love a deck more, but if I feel I can get online and get that deck, for instance, I love my museum edition of my Visconti Mondrone because it's just beautiful. It's gilded, it's massive, it's glitzy, but I can get it. I can go online and get it again. So I'm not going to put that in only 10 decks. But if I have to say, is it one of my favorite decks? Yeah, it's one of my favorite decks. So that's how I've done it. So how easily can I get these decks? And as a collector, it might be a little bit different to others. And it's an old hashtag. I know it's been going around for a very long time, but I saw it redone recently because people update their only 10 decks because you get new things in your collections. So let's start with me. Let's start with my only 10 decks. And we'll move on from there. I'll just move my tea out the way. And we shall begin. I guess the easiest way to begin with it is also my sentimentality. Now, sentimentality draws me towards a deck that to me is irreplaceable, and I have got many other copies of this deck, but this is my first ever deck, and for that reason it's irreplaceable and I would take it with me. It's gone on a few journeys, as you can see. It's I've shown it on my other videos, and it's all got all my numbering that was wrong at the time on the major arcana. It is wrapped in the cloth that it came in. It came in it never came in a tuck box. It came in a kit, and the kit included the spread cloth, the deck, and this beautiful book from Simon & Schuster in Australia, and perfectly bound, still not falling apart, underlined, read and loved. So that's the old world binding for you, not some of the new crappy falling apart things after 1 week. And you know, here's the deck. I think you guys have seen this deck before, and you've seen how wonderful it is. My numbering was all wrong. I don't know why my numbering was all wrong. I'll just move the cloth out the way, actually. It's got the Celtic cross on it, of course, because that's the spread that, you know, they teach you on. But it looks a bit messy on the screen, so maybe I'll just get in a bit closer so you guys can see. Enough room. I'll just... And this is, as we know, the Greek myths. This takes us through the journey of many Greek myths and heroes. And the wands are the myth of Jason and the Argonauts and the Golden Fleece. There's Athena. Orestes, who has a whole journey there with his mother, Clytemnestra. And we've got the cups as well, with Cupid and Psyche, and Aphrodite plays a big role. It's just a beautiful deck. As I said, I can't remember why I learned on it, and I numbered the majors. I don't know why I numbered the majors the way I did. God knows. But I didn't learn on the RWS, on the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I didn't learn on the Thoth. In fact, the RWS was the last deck I picked up, so we went through this journey first. And there's Persephone with the pillars and the pomegranate. Gorgeous deck. Would only pick up this version of it, which is my trusted version from the 1980s. That's how long I've had the deck. It was my first deck. These are the backs. Very well used, as you can see. If I read for others with this deck, I've got many other versions. I've got tuck box versions, and here's one here just near me. So I use those. I don't use the current version. I've spoken endlessly about how much I think that's a waste of time. And I really don't like it. Let me just get in a bit closer as well. I guess the next deck is, I'm going to keep to that same era, but my second deck was a deck that caught my eye because of its beauty. And in those days, it was totally inexpensive, and you'll know by the cover here. So this is the Greenie Thoth from the 1980s. And I have to take this deck, again, probably more for sentimental reasons, but I love the Thoth, but I've got many versions of the Thoth. This isn't the only version I've got, and I've got another version from the 80s, which is the one with the 3 magicians, which is the medium size. This is the supersized one, and I love the cardstock. I mean, it's a bit bowed, as you can see, because I've used it, and again, got a lot of use. And it's just, there she is, the Princess of Cups. It's like a clamshell. My favourite devil of all time. And we all know the cards are, it's a pip deck. Essentially, it's a pip deck. But it's super loaded and overloaded with Kabbalah, astrology, the elements, symbols, mythological figures. Like every single coin on this 7 of discs has a different symbol on it. That's what takes it so long to master and understand if you want to go into the detail, which I do. And there's the Fool. And it's got the beautiful greeny sort of tinge to it. I've got a modern version of this from AGM. It's far sharper and far brighter. This is actually a little bit more subdued in terms of how it hits you when you see it in real life. But I prefer this to all the decks I have of the Crowley deck, or, you know, the Thoth. I like the cardstock. I think it's just thick enough, and it's gone very well over the years. I don't like the cardstock to be too thick. I hate rose petal. Too thick, unshuffleable. It doesn't matter what you do. It just too thick. Not practical when you're reading for clients, because you know, you're trying to get a lot of information in a short period of time. If it's, you know, and you're trying to shuffle the deck and it's sticking together and God knows what, and you can't riffle shuffle it. Not that I riffle and bridge shuffle a lot, but really, and even fanning it out turns out to be a nightmare. So this is perfect. So yeah. And I guess in the 80s, if you want to know, I mean, I wouldn't take it because we said 10 decks. But with the, I should put these on the floor so I don't lose count, because I think I've got more than 10 out here because I'm going to decide. But Duquette's book is great. I'm not saying Duquette's book isn't great, but really, this, if you're learning Thoth, and even if you're experienced with Thoth, I truly recommend this book. In a sense, I prefer it to Duquette's, but, and of course, Thoth, Crowley's book himself is great, but you know, let's face it, it can get weird. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and I'll tell you why. Let me get myself out of the way. So you've got your cards. Oh, look, this is why it's great. The aeon, the instinct, the goal, the guiding principle, the light, the shadow, the quality. It talks about the foundation of the card, the motifs in the card, every motif, Horus. It talks about the Hebrew letter, Shin. It talks about chronology, waves, lines, general. It gives you tree of life meaning, letter, number, archetype, in relationships what it means, in a profession what it could mean, consciousness, mythology, deities, cults, rituals, Sabbath, music, fragrance. It's even got fragrance. It's got myrrh for aeon, gems, astrology, the picture itself. And then, you know, you get a quotation at the end of each one. And this one's from the Siddhartha from Hermann Hesse. During deep meditation, it is possible to dispel time, to see simultaneously all the past, the present, and the future. And then everything is good, everything is perfect, everything is Brahman. Beautiful quotes. That's a longer quote. I just took the end of it. It's just a very interesting book, and I really think that anyone that's trying to study Thoth should get it and read it. And it would be good to have this and the Duquette, because it's just jam-packed with all sorts of goodies. And that's how I learnt my Crowley Tarot. And it is US Games. I don't know if they still print it. I think they might. Why wouldn't they? It's great. So that's the 2 decks now that I would take with me. Of course, I can't take the books, but just a bit of advice as we're going. Sentimental reasons. Okay. So then we're stuck on that. So I guess if we're going to come out of that era into, well, let's stay in that era, let's be honest. I guess the other one that I can't leave really is the Aquarian Tarot. And I would take this version of it because this is the 1970s version, 1970 Morgan Press. And my preferred version. I've got, again, many versions of this deck, but I want this one. And this is the one I use. I do use the tin version if I'm reading for clients quite often. I like the size, but I love the backs. And most of these old ones I haven't ever, I didn't even think about edging. And I just like the colour scheme. It's not as white, and it's more subtle in terms of the backgrounds, and detailed in terms of the colours. And it's an RWS. And it's probably my favourite RWS. That's not a direct clone. It's a peaceful deck. And even when you get a card like the Five of Cups, it's just, there's a lot of space. I like the space. Like the Two of Cups, I like the space. I like just seeing the two lovers. You know, of all the 70s decks, I prefer this to the Morgan Greer, and I find the Morgan Greer a little bit cartoonish. I find this very elegant. And, you know, it's an Art Deco style. Again, like later Frida Harris was somewhat Art Deco, but this is sort of, it's got a whole lot of elements and elements from the 1970s. And with this deck, I've got to say, if you do want to get the current version of it, I've bought it, of course, because I had to. I'm trying not to knock the camera, I'm moving. I'll show it to you. It is beautifully boxed and everything. Absolutely divine. Oops, there we go. Of course, we had to do that. So here's the current version of it. Yeah, sort of happy with the quality of the card. They go white and, you know, they're a little bit sort of, I think, glossier. But in it, what's fantastic, what's in it? What's in it is the beautiful Psychic Tarot book. Now, I really recommend this book. And if you can't get the kit, if you don't want the Aquarian Tarot, I think you can buy this book independently. Again, US Games. But it really is a total guide to getting in touch with your psychic self and how to activate your third eye, the whole lot of it. Chakras, meditation exercises, mindfulness exercises, the conscious mind, the superconscious mind, the subconscious mind. It just goes through the whole gamut of what aspects you can tap into yourself, and then it goes through the deck as well. And your intuition, it's got some spreads at the back. Numerology. It's a grimoire. It is a grimoire of the cards and tarot reading, and you know, using all your senses. You know, learning to see clearly. Really highly recommended. It's a great book, and it makes the kit worthwhile getting it, which I didn't have that book, so I was really you know, because in all of them you get this sort of flippy thing. Even in the, you know, the tin version, you get, I thought you didn't, but you got this in the 70s, and you get it like in the tin version. If I can get the tin version out, which I can't because I've got so much stuff around me, but maybe I can. I just don't want to knock my tea. So there's the tin version, which I absolutely adore. I've got to say, this is a great version, especially when you're reading for others. And it's gotten a lot of use, you can see. And I've got to admit, this is what I use with clients if I use the Aquarian Tarot. And I pick the tarot, I let them pick the tarot, it just depends. Anyway, that's the third deck I would take with me. The fourth deck I would take with me. Now, to be honest, it now becomes challenging because it's sort of away from decks. Oh, well, yes, I guess no. Back to the sentimental. I would take this deck with me. This is the Alitalia deck, and this was a gift, and I found it, and it was bought for me, so I just absolutely love it. That's the book, Yanni Novak. Early 1970s again. I always forget which year exactly. I think this is 1973. It's on the cards, actually. So if I have a look, I pretty much remember. Yeah. So there it is. 1973. Yes, Novak. They're all signed. It looks like a pencil. And I just love this deck. So this is now the fourth deck. I love it. I love the Italian style of decks of the early 70s. I think and I love the box. The whole thing's just beautifully presented. This was a gift if you flew Alitalia, in case you don't know, in first class in 1973, made in Italy. Beautifully, it's like a sort of leather top thing. Someone's obviously never used this because when I got it, it's white and it's perfectly clean. I do use it. I don't use it for clients, I'll be honest. It's a linen. I'm going to sneeze because it's spring in Melbourne and I'm going to get hay fever any minute. So bear with me, guys. The tower. It's a linen finish and it feels like it's been coloured in with, we used to call them textures, but I think now they're called Sharpies, the brand names. And that's what I love about this. And that's what I love about the hoi polloi. I have the hoi polloi and it looks like it's been coloured in with Sharpies and textures. I love the abstract nature of it. I love the fact that it's in that Taroki sort of tradition. That's what number, 4204. I love that about the deck. It's very phallic, isn't it? The 7, the Chariot, El Cardo. Yeah, it's victory, I bet. You know, I mean, with the Marcier style decks or the you know, the Pip style decks, it does allow a little bit of roaming, I think, with it lets your intuition work a bit stronger in terms of the meanings. That can get you more exacted in your interpretations of the reads, and it can get you more vague. I think it works both ways. I don't like vague readings, so but I do use Pip decks when it depends on the clients and on myself and on the day and how I feel and what I see. But you can see this is just wonderful. I just love it. I think it's stylish. I'm just going to try and find my favorite card in this deck, which is the High Priestess. But always when you're looking, it's always hard to find, and it's so big and it's a little bit difficult to handle for small hands. But you know, every time you look for something, you just can't find it. So, and that's going to happen. Oh, here she is, La Papessa. Look at that. Her great big moon head and the beautiful indigo coloured sky and all that, the sort of chakra colours, but it's not really, but it's just, I mean, you can see so much in that card. Beautiful, just beautiful. And I've got I have promised and will continue to, I will do a whole presentation on my Italian decks, the modern Italian decks rather than the Taroki ones, and hopefully you guys will like that. I just have to get my act together. I've been so busy lately. Because as most of you know, you may not know, I've sort of quit I've retired from my day jobs, which were HR orientated, office managers, whatever I was for the last 25 years, even longer. I'm now retired and I'm working in a new age store in the city as well as working at home. So I do get very busy, busier than what I thought. So I'm not making as many videos or as quickly as I want to, but I've got a whole list of topics and I'll get to them, I promise. Because people do ask me, when are you going to do this, when are you going to do that? I'm doing it, it's on my list. So that was now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decks, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decks. So we've got 5 decks to go. How challenging. Okay, now, how can I give this up? This is the Blushing Fool Rider-Waite Tarot, 1970, I think this one is as well. And just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful version of the yellow box. As I said, I don't mind the yellow box. Everyone whinges. I'm happy with it. Smooth, and if I can find the Fool, if he's here, I use it. I use it for myself, and there's the blank card. I always put it back together. I'm quite messy when I do my cards, I've got to admit. There's the other one, and they shouldn't be. But you can see them here. I mean, the quality. You know, people have spoken about. There he is. People have spoken about this deck for yonks, as they say in Aussie land, and there he is with his blushing face. And I think the quality and the clarity of the cards and the fact they're not too shiny and they're sort of satiny but not matte. Beautiful weight, I like it. And it, for me, it's, well, for the Fernier is the perfect size for me, I have to be honest, in terms of the cards. So like the Spanish Tarot is the perfect size. They're a bit bent, just a little bit, and used. So I rotate the cards. I don't use these for clients. This is too precious. And I believe it's a genius deck. I've said that before. I think they were, you know, if you want a mass-produced deck that's more easy to digest than most tarots, this is your go-to. And I've explained before that I believe that is complex simplicity. You can start very simply with this, and once you start looking into it, you see its complexity in terms of the symbols, the colours, and everything else that was going on. And that's obviously part of the Golden Dawn and Pixies and Arthur Waite's genius of putting all that information in it. This is the real book, I guess, that goes with it. You know, this is the Pictorial Key to the Tarot in full colour. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful book. It goes through the veil and its symbols. It goes through each card, and it explains something. Now, when I say it explains something, what I mean is, if you really want to learn the deck, I wouldn't go to Arthur Waite, as I wouldn't go to Crowley, to be honest, as a first read. Get there, but no way would you get a good understanding of what's going on in the deck with just reading this. I think you'd get a little bit confused, and he's left a lot of things open-ended, but there's some spreads as well, and it's a very interesting book to have, and it's a beautiful book to have, and you can see I've got it in hardcover, and I'm a book person, so that's the book to Arthur Waite and Pixies deck, the Genius deck. So that's number 6. I'd have to take that with me. Now, it's getting a little bit harder because 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 more decks. So which are the 4 more decks that I'd take with me? Well, to be honest, I would take the Majestic Earth Tarot by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle, and that's because I had such a tough time getting this because I never got it on Kickstarter. So I went through a lot to get this deck, and I dealt with a lot of shady people to get this deck. It was like watching Ripley's Game, if you've ever watched it, the 3rd installment, or read it, it's fantastic, the 3rd installment of The Talented Mr. Ripley. I went through a lot of dodgy, who knows what, resellers, but finally I actually got it on eBay and found an honest seller, and I knew the deck was real. And here's the wonderful box. So I don't want to go through that again. And I love it. That's the other part too. I love the deck. I love the way it's been set out. I love the book. She explains in the deck what she's using in terms of the artwork. The backs are just to die for. And the quality of the cards is to die for. Now, there's extra cards in this one, which I wanted, which are the elemental cards, and they're in landscape. Now, I know a lot of people say, I just want the deck, I don't want the extra cards, or what's the point? Well, the point is, when you're reading for clients, I often use oracles, and you'll see today I haven't chosen an oracle to take with me. There's no oracle that could surpass the tarot decks that I've chosen, so I had to leave the oracles aside. But when they have these extra cards, I often use them as oracles. How do I do that? I guess sometimes at the end of a reading, for me, a reading is finding solutions to problems. And some of the problems are, if people are blocked, I will, you know, I will shuffle, let's say, the 4 of these, or the 5, see what element comes out. You know, you may get the air element. And then I'll, you know, shuffle the deck again. Like this. You know, a little bit more than what I'm doing now. Of course, I don't want to take... My goddaughter keeps telling me my videos are too long because, you know, she's from generation, I don't know what. Everything has to be quick. And then I'll get something like the 6 of Clouds. So moving on. How would you move on from something when you're stuck? Perhaps practice mindfulness or some kind of meditation, because that we're talking about air and the mind. So we're talking about being maybe stuck on something. So I read them as oracles accompanying the cards. Often at the end of a reading, if I use the deck. So I love using the deck. This deck is absolutely beyond beautiful. I don't know how many videos are on YouTube with this deck, but it's a miracle of a deck. In terms of the quality of the reproduction of the images, that's one. The sharpness and the clarity and the fact that they haven't been redrawn or smoothed over and changed. I do see a lot of classical artwork in curated decks, but I see it's sort of changed, and I have a problem with that. I want it exact. And I guess my favourite card in this deck is probably what's on the cover of the box, if we can find him. Maybe not. We'll just have to get the box out. Which is this beautiful Hermit by Friedrich. I'll see if I can find it in the deck. I mean, I mean, look at this. And the quality is just, it's gilded. I was so impressed with this deck that I never was going to buy the Tarot of Delphi because it's so expensive online. But let's see about that. I'm revisiting that whole scenario. So look at that. Look at the colours in this. And you really have to see, I think you really have, there he is, the Hermit. I really think you have, it's gorgeous. Friedrich, romantic. Just the, you know, that romantic tradition. It's just breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. The quality I didn't expect to be what I got. So, you know, although I bought the deck, I wanted to kiss the person who sold it to me. As I said, I went through, you know, people are dealing these things are not always who you want them to be. That's the way of the world. But somehow I would not let this deck go if I had an issue. So here we are again with the majestic. Oh, I can't put it back together. I'll do it later. Okay, so and nearly falls out of the box. So I need to count now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 more. Okay, so what haven't we seen? I guess, is it 6 that we've got? Yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 4 more. I guess the next one that I will do that's totally out of print. Totally out of print. From what I understand is the Tarot as Colour from Ethel Colquhoun. People see me posting all the time on Instagram, my 5 favourite, you know, top tarot trumps by Masha. And this one features a lot because I love abstract art. I love the idea that I can fly, that I'm not constricted, that I'm free. So the colours and the pip decks allow me some movement, and I don't mind them. But quite honestly, I get annoyed if the pip number isn't written on the card, on the pip card, and I have to know, like the CBD tarot is impossible. I just can't be bothered. Too hard. But the Spanish tarot has the numbers, so I read it easily. But this is quite clear and colourful. I love colour. There's the Fool, the Nine of Wands, the Lord of Great Strength. The quality that Fulgur Press came up with in terms of these cards, the size and the whole kit and caboodle is unbelievable. And I really feel for anyone that never got a chance to buy this deck. I just absolutely adore it. I did kick myself for not getting a backup version. I did get Leonora Carrington's Majors deck as well, and I was smart enough when in the second reprinting to get 2 copies because I'm going to frame one, but I didn't get 2 copies of this one when I bought it. The other thing I didn't get was the book. There was a hardcover book that came with it, and Fulgur Press did that as well. And I'm on a, you know, I love to hunt, you know, I'm a predator. So I'm on eBay. I just love the journey of hunting these things down and getting a good price for them and negotiating and, you know, trying to dodge all the Ripleys and not becoming one myself. But, you know, because, you know, I just look at these colours, look at this deck. And the Leonora Carrington deck is also a deck. It might feature here. It's out there, but I'm not sure yet if it's going to feature. I'll decide at the moment. You've got the Tower, the Lord of the Hosts of the Mighty. What can I say that hasn't been said about this deck? I mean, she's been influenced, obviously, she says, in 1977 it was created. I've seen another copy of this. There's a person on YouTube who's going through his 100 decks. He's an author as well. I can't think of his name right now. But he has another version of this, which is smaller and not as nice. So someone else did print it at some stage, but Fulgur Presses is the best. And all their stuff is fantastic, and they post it in the Royal Mail, and I reckon I get it within 10 days in Australia. And that's part of the other problem here, is we're not open to, the shipping is so expensive for anything. 6 of Swords, the Lord of Earned Success. Just stunning. Stunning. That's the problem you have as well. So that's why I'm so sort of coveting these decks. I can't wait to get the book. I will get the book. So, Tarot as Colour, Ethel Colquhoun, highly, highly, highly recommended. Influenced probably by the pictures of space. They were coming through the space, the Hubble telescopes and all that at the time. But again, it's a painted deck, and she's a surrealist. So, and that's the presentation of it. Heavy, heavy deck. Beautiful. So that must be now 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're on deck 8. Well, let's jump to another era. Okay, let's jump to another era. So you can hear me trying to put it back together because I had it out of the box, but here it is. And I've got a few that have fell on the floor, but for the sake of this, let's just, well, maybe we can pick them up. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so these are all the cards. This is the box. This is the first version of this, as in... it may have been the second printing of the first version. I got both versions. I've got the Kickstarter, which I keep in a bag in the New Age shop, which I use for clients. They love it. And this is the non-Kickstarter version. The Kickstarter version has the Ouroboros at the back, the names of the cards at the back, because these are all unmarked cards, unnamed. So if you're, a beginner or anything, it's way too hard. Even if you're experienced, you have to sort of keep looking up the book, which, isn't a lot of fun, but Where is the book, by the way, of this deck? I don't know what's happened to it, but there is a beautiful big book on this deck, about this deck, which isn't in my purview at the moment. But what I love about this deck, again, it's a pip deck. I can roam. But it's a pip deck that gives you that space and expansion and uses sort of, you know, ancient symbols. And I always get comments when I use it. People are curious and get really involved, and this gives me very, very deep readings. Lovers, Four of Wands. And I think of all the collage decks that I have, and I have a few, this is my favourite. I mean, this is where the Voyager Tarot sort of lets me down, because this is, it's perfectly in harmony, I think, in terms of how many images she uses. And when you do a reading, it's clear, it's a clear reader. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful deck. I just don't know what I've done with the guidebook, which I absolutely love as well. I like the cardstock. I don't mind the size. I've edged this one. There's the Tower. The Hermit. I've edged it. I edged it in black, and I edged the new one exactly the same, because I just couldn't find any better colour for this deck. It's a cultish. It's beautiful. It's easy to... It's sort of easy. I mean, I've got small hands, so of course I'm just going to overhand this, but it's got that nice firm feeling, and I think it's lasted for me beautifully. And Tierra May is a brilliant artist, and someone who I appreciate. And as I said, you get a sort of full-size book with the deck, which is absolutely fantastic. In the new version, in the version that she's done on Kickstarter, you don't get a full-size version. You get the box-size version, which is quite nice too, but it did sort of fall apart the minute I started using it. So I'm glad I've got the full-size version of that. Oh, here it is. Yeah, hiding. The Ritual Tarot. So this is a nice full version. Big pictures of the major arcanas, explanations, and at the back is the minor with the keys there. And the small one's okay too, but it's just that it fell apart, so I wasn't happy with it. So, okay, I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 more. I guess one of the 2 more is going to be the ever controversial Salvador Dali Tarot. I've got a couple of versions of it. I've got this version, which is probably the version I would take. And I've also got the version, and this one comes in a gold tuck box. Taschen did this sort of commemorative gorgeousness that I couldn't resist. And actually someone in the local Facebook group sold me this. They didn't want it. I was shocked, and I got it for absolutely next to nothing. But this is the one that's in here. I've got the gold version again in the store, because I do use it with clients. Again, clients. The book's not great. That book's not great, but this Rachel Pollack wrote a book on Salvador Dali's tarot that I got many, many, many years ago, maybe in the 80s, 1695. That will tell you how long ago it was, because I don't think you'd get that now. It is shiny. It is all still together. Let me look at the printing date on it, if I can find it. 1983. And I may have bought it it says 1985, but I think I've dated it. Let me have a look. Yeah, July, I even wrote here, July 1988. I've dated it, so I won't, that's my maiden name, but yeah. Wow. Luminous Press. I don't know how that got in there. I always put card, but the book is outstanding. And Rachel Pollack, I mean, gee whiz. 78 Degrees of Wisdom. She's just amazing. It's a beautiful book. I read that book. That's how I learned this deck. I mean, look, it's again another pip deck. So everyone thinks that I read non-pip decks, and Tarot Universal Dali, again the covering cards, and beautiful edition. The other one's almost identical, so in terms of, although I probably need Honeyloo to have a good look at it, I reckon. And I use the magnifier as well, just to compare the cards. But this is a US Games version of it, not Taschen. But in terms of the cards and the feel, they're almost identical. Maybe I will do a side-by-side. There's another one that I'll do to see if the Taschen version is similar to the US Games version. See the differences and the similarities. I just think this is one of the most beautiful decks ever created. I love Dali. I'm not going to lie. I just think he's a genius. And I just, I think, you know, he's a genius. I don't know what to say. And the deck is ingenious. And I call this the first collage deck, because he collaged his own art, classic art, and put it together with the pips. I guess it's a pip deck because it shows there, but it does have little images. So I don't know if it's a pip deck, really, but I would call it a pip deck. I mean, look at this. And the colours are absolutely beautiful. I think I will do a comparison. I'm just wondering now. And he's, you know, his signature's on everywhere. He's everywhere. He's the Imago, the magician in this. And, I mean, what can you say about him? That's the death of Marat. I think Ingres did that. All the classic art. Napoleon. Ingres again, I think. And then he's got his face in the background. Absolutely unbelievable deck. I'm not sure how many artists have surpassed, because he actually, he created the deck. So it's not a curation of his artwork put together saying it's a Dali deck. It's actually, Dali was commissioned to create a deck, and he created this deck in the, I think, early 1970s. Just absolutely brilliant. And it's St. George and Angelica, or Andromeda, however you want to read it. The dragon, Andromeda, the dragon, Angelica. The lovers. So, yeah. And if you do find that book on Dali's Tarot by Rachel Pollack, I should do even another one on all the beautiful books I've got on tarot. But I do if I find something. And a lot of them were from not new, you know, they were from secondhand bookstores. So, very, very nice. Okay, so I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more. So I think the other one that I can't overlook is the Tarot de Paris. And I'm only taking one, you know, Rider-Waite special. I've got many. I've got the J.K. Waite, I've got the Blue Box, I've got the Golden. I've got a lot, but I chose that one. So this is the Tarot de Paris. So of all the, I guess, let's call them the Marcier decks that there are, I love this one. And this one's from the 80s. So the box just fell apart a bit more. Every time you use these things, yeah, it's really difficult to get the decks out because I don't know what happens. There we go. I don't know what happens to paper. Maybe it does get thicker. Maybe they just... I really should put it in a pouch, but I want to keep the box. So maybe I'll just keep the book outside of the box. The book is great. It's that shiny paper, 1984. And outside of the Spanish Tarot, this is one of my favourite Mercier decks. I'm not as much into the Conver and the Payen as others are, I know. These are the beautiful backs. And they're square, of course. And there's an abstraction or a... I just love the line work and the colours and everything else about this deck. I don't really like it when they're cleaned up. I like it when they're left a bit the way they are, like this. A little bit blurry, a little bit fuzzy, a little bit Turner when he was losing his sight, when he was painting, when it got less clear. There's something about that fuzziness that I absolutely find very, very attractive. That's why I love this deck. It has a personality, and I don't want it cleaned up, and I don't want the Pope's face defined. I like it when it leaves that abstraction, and it talks to me of a different time. The Lovers. I love that card. The Chariot. This is an outstanding. It's the anonymous tarot. It's the Tarot de Paris. It's the anonymous Tarot de Paris, of course. And I think it's in the Bibliothèque in France. And this one was done in the 80s. And it has a really nice quality to it. The Wheel of Fortune. And I'm not sure if the colours are really showing up here on the screen. I've got daylight because it's spring, so the daylight is coming through. But hopefully it's bright enough for you to see. So I will take this because I found it. It is quite expensive to buy if you want to get it, especially this version of it. But I did get it. I found it in an online thrift store, and I'm not sure they really knew the value of it, to be honest. So I didn't pay much for it, but it was a long time in the finding because most of the places I found it were expensive. So I think that's number 9. So let me go. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or is that 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's it. That is it. So that is the 10 decks that I would save. And I think I do have 2 runners up. But unfortunately, they are runners up, so I'm not going to, they're sitting there, they're looking at me right now on the chair next to me, but I'm not going to show them. But perhaps what I thought I'd do, what I did have planned to do was, if I did choose the Leonora Carrington deck, I was going to go through a spread with that, but I won't do that now because I think that the video's just taken too long. But maybe we just choose one of the decks. Maybe the Majestic Earth, because the box is upright and I can pick it. And I'll take and give it a bit of a shuffle. And so this is, for me, one of the most beautiful curated decks ever created in the history of tarot. Just I'm not sure why she did such an absolutely outstanding job, but here we are, here we go. I hope there's not too much noise in the background. So let's give these a bit of a shuffle. That's how I would shuffle these, and a little bit more. We'll just do another quick shuffle. And let's see, let's do a daily spread. Oh, the Hermit. So here we go. So maybe something to embrace. The Hermit, embrace being alone today. We've got football finals on here in Melbourne. It'll be a bit hard, but that's maybe a bit later in the day. I can't go for a walk, unfortunately, because I've done something to my toe, my index toe. So I've fractured it, so I can't. I've got to rest it. And then I guess something to let go of. Council of Law 11, so justice, really. So maybe just let go of paperwork. I've got all sorts of paperwork and stuff to figure out, actually. So I was going to work on that today as well, because I always, have a million tasks, and I at least try and get through a few, but then they just go on to the next day. So there's some paperwork I do have to do, so maybe just not do that today. And I guess, the universal energies, let's call them, we've got the Two of Stones, so that would be the Two of Earth. So just balance the priorities, probably of being alone and sort of celebrating the football and the beautiful day. And that's just absolutely a beautiful, beautiful card, isn't it? In between balance. And these have just beautiful little, in between balance, yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. Usually it's the two coins. And here you've got the contemplation, solitude, and here you've got governing equity, Council of Law. Interesting, very interesting. Just let go of that today. Don't worry about that too much. So that's like a little daily spread. I think Catamancy uses that, something similar as well. So I hope you've enjoyed the presentation today and a little spread and the 10 decks, and I'm sure I'll do one at some later stage where I may update my 10 decks. So let's see how that journey goes. So I'll see you next time. Thank you.